Hello everyone. Good morning. How are you doing? Today I want to make sure that I'm not speaking by myself. Yes, I'm not speaking by myself. Isn't that wonderful? And I hope I can actually see comments. Yes. Okay, good. I'm not making the mistake I made last week where I talked to myself for almost 20 minutes and didn't find out about it until later when it was done, and I just posted the recording so you could see it. It was also part of the fact that I had to be present with the course at 10 and didn't have much time to kind of like get on again and be live again. um, Today is Boosting Your Qualitative Title Part 2. This was the title of yesterday's blog post, and you might be as surprised as I've been for a few months, actually more than months, almost a year now, since we started looking at blog analytics and the number of people that visit different pages and what are the most preferred or most popular topics. One that is very popular is the one about writing a qualitative research title. And it's interesting because that blog post actually came about um, in my head because I am part of a Facebook group that is for qualitative scholars. And it was at that time, I don't think it is as much now. It was such a common question. Is this blog title qualitative or appropriate for qualitative research? So that's when the idea of the post came about and I wrote about it. And it's interesting because it's the most popular one. And sometimes it's shocking to me because I feel we have so much content across topics that are, I would say, more complex and also more debatable within qualitative research. In any case, it's beyond the point of our conversation today. What I wanted to tell you is one of the fun, or I would say it is actually fun, that's the right word. One of the fun things I have been doing for the past almost 2 years is drawing parallels between what I learn in order to be an entrepreneur, to be a business owner, and my work as a qualitative researcher. And when it comes to this topic of the qualitative research title, I will say that email marketing, which is something that I have had to study and take courses and try to understand a bit better on how to become better at it. So I send newsletters, I send emails to you all every week. If you are on the Quali Q email list, if you have downloaded resources and given us permission to contact you, you get emails from us. And you get emails from not only me, but 100 other things, including a lot of marketing emails from stores, promotions that you might love or you might hate it, but let them keep coming because once in a while you find something good through them. Coupons, who doesn't get coupons as well, etc. Along with your work emails. So for me, I know that the Quali Q email that you get from me is one in probably dozens, if not hundreds, you get in a day. So if you think about this, it's super important that I, as an entrepreneur, learn how to better reach you through the emails. And the first thing you see is the subject line. And that's a parallel that I drew to qualitative research and titles for papers. It's not very different from what we experience when we put our papers out there. Your paper will come up in a database when someone searches for keywords that involve the keywords you have, or they will go on the journal that you published and they will have many options to go and read, many abstracts to expand or not expand. And the first impression you're going to give them is through your title. The same way that the first impression that I give when I send an email is with that subject line. Some people might have a very established, well recognized name in a field, and their name alone might be sufficient for people to click on their publication. And that's wonderful. It is a form of brand recognition, but it doesn't always happen, especially if you're starting your career, if you're publishing your first few papers in a field, or if you were just starting to publish your qualitative work. Even if you have been an academic for years, it's the first time or the very few studies that you have qualitative publications. So, this is where the lessons that I shared on the blog post yesterday come handy. There are a few things that you can consider. Email marketers often talk about using the punctuations in a smart way. I feel like we have become very comfortable with the colon already. I use colon in a couple of my papers. For example, one of them is contrasting back home and here, colon, Northeast African, etc., etc., etc. And you give that pause through a colon and maybe you introduce a new idea or something that allows you to give a bit of a description of the work, tell your reader it's qualitative, and all of those things. So using colon is not, I would say, novel. It's something that I feel we are even like very much used to doing in titles of grants, proposals, and papers. The other two that email marketers often use are ellipses, so dot, dot, dot. That one I think is a bit complicated for qualitative research titles and paper titles because I think ellipses, it has that intention to leave you hanging, right? Like, oh, dot, 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 like what's coming next. And in terms of informal communication, we use it a lot. And for email marketing, it is totally fine because you want to leave the person curious so they will click and read. But it also has that connotation of maybe you just are a bit insecure in what you say or uncertain. And I feel that that is one that makes me not necessarily jump on board with myself or recommending to any of you to use in your titles. With that being said, there is a third one, which is your question mark. And I recently, I'm going to be a co-author in a paper that hopefully will be accepted in a few months or sooner than later. And it has a question. And this question also plays with a children's song. And I cannot tell more details right now, but I can tell you that it's such an interesting and fun title. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is brilliant. I don't know who thought about this title, but it is so much fun. So when I shared with you in the blog post yesterday a few titles, I shared those that I think have that same effect. So Michael Eger's paper that I love on culture is culture, colon, can you take it anywhere? So it's a question there. Can you take it anywhere? Can you do anything with it? I love that. Like, can we really use it, or is it the meaning and what culture means is lost for its over because of its overuse everywhere? And I shared another one that has that same idea of challenging something by asking a question in a title. I actually will bring up the blog post so I can remember exactly the ones that I wrote. So culture, can you take it anywhere, was one that I shared. The other one by Rebecca Southern's So Close Yet So Far is one that I find fascinating, and I really like it too because we know that saying, oh, we are close yet so far. It feels so close yet so far. So you know what it is implying, you know what to expect, but it's intriguing at the same time. And another one that is quite interesting is one from Anderson and authors and colleagues that challenges the former title of Canada's Food Guide. Canada's Food Guide, the old now version, was Eating Well with Canada's Food Guide. And the authors played with that and asked, Eating Well with Canada's Food Guide? Question mark. So as the reader, as someone who works in that area, you would be like, oh, what is this going to be about? The second part of the title gives you an idea about the study and what the paper is about. So it continues with authoritative knowledge about food and health among newcomer mothers. But that initial question already tells you that Canada's Food Guide for that study didn't really seem to lead or mean necessarily eating well. So it's interesting, it's intriguing, it's inviting. So when I posted the invitation for all of you to join here today, I also said in the email that I would be talking about one example that is very specific from my area, but it's one that has created almost this cascade of titles related to two seminal papers that came out in late 90s and also I would say now early 2000s. It's not necessarily early, it's almost end of the first decade of the 2000s. But in any case, um, there is a paper that talks about teachable moments. So teachable moments, and it's about behavioral science and psychology. They describe moments where we have these big life events. I want to remember the author's name. I might be saying it wrong, and I am more than okay to add the reference later to the comments. I want to say it's Larson or Lawson, but I might be wrong. So I can look it up and post on the comments. But it talks about life events such as when someone has a stroke or heart attack or receives a life changing diagnosis or finds out they are pregnant. And those moments are really important because they tend to increase individuals' intrinsic motivation to change behaviors related to smoking, drinking, eating, exercising, for example. And because they are more motivated, they are more likely to make changes that impact their health. Then, of course, after that, a number of other studies and research and theories have come and also discussed that, but explained like sustainability of those changes, what other factors are important to sustain those changes. They might be triggered by intrinsic motivation, but what else is necessary to have those changes 3, 4 years down the road after the life changing event happened? But pregnancy was one of those moments that were considered teachable moments. So later, Susan Fallon published a paper, and I think it's AJCN, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. I might be wrong about that, but it's Susan Fallon. It's a well-known author, very respected, published a paper talking about pregnancy as a teachable moment related to gestational weight gain. And it gained traction. So everyone started talking about pregnancy as a teachable moment, like as a moment to educate women on healthy weights, healthy eating, and pregnancy and gestational weight gain, etc., etc. However, what ended up happening, especially with new work that comes from a feminist lens and new work that shows what? Like, where is the rest of the family? Where is the partner? Where is the father there? Or the father figure in this whole pregnancy as a teachable moment. So that word teachable and pregnancy became kind of like a hot one that you will often find in papers. And often now challenging that idea that pregnancy is a teachable moment because it puts more pressure on women to achieve all these things throughout their pregnancy in order to have a healthy baby. And my phone is ringing, and I apologize. So this is the one. To hear this message, press 1. Oh no. Okay. You have a text message from 7807. Oh, it's a text message to a landline. Wonderful. Anyway, what I was saying that this word like teachable and pregnancy became this really interesting one that you will find in titles. And I think it really signifies where the paper is going. If it's going to challenge that idea and what type of study is being done to either challenge or embrace that. So that's the one that I wanted to share with you and for you to keep it in mind because, of course, this is very specific of pregnancy and maternal health. But in your area, you might have very firmly rooted studies or knowledge or paradigms or ideas that perhaps your study is building upon or challenging. So that's something for you to consider when you're crafting this title of your study that you want to be telling and to tell your reader where you're going, but at the same time, you want to leave them curious and to entice them and to really invite them to come and learn with you. So I hope this blog post is as successful as its first part back in January 2020. And I am inviting you to share with me any ideas that you have and any titles that you like, whether they are yours or someone else's. I think we can probably be inspired by titles that we've seen and liked in the past. Once that paper that I mentioned is officially accepted for publication, I will share the title. I will make sure that I remember and I will share the title because I am a mother of young children. So as soon as I saw part of a child song there, I was like, this is so much fun. I love it. And the first author and my colleague, she liked the title, but she is not someone who has young children. So for her, when I told her, I was like, did you know that this is a really fun play with this famous uh, children's song? It's playing on a rhyme there. And she's like, no, I had no idea. So it's interesting. She liked the title. She was totally on board with a suggestion from a co-author, but we had very different ways of seeing the title based on our experiences. So that's something that I find quite fascinating as well. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Next week, for those of you who will be watching this in the group, is April 28th, 2021. So a week from today, I won't be here on our live as usual. We are skipping that Wednesday because I am moving houses and our moving day is actually on that Wednesday. And that's the reason why I won't be here. It's unfeasible for that day, to be sincere. I cannot make that commitment. So I hope to see you guys in May. Crazy, but yes, in May. So I would be seeing you on May 5th, and we'll resume our conversations and continue having qualitative discussions. Bye, everyone. Bye for now.